Your grandmother didn't have WebMD. She had a jar of Vicks, a bag of onions, and about 400 years of accumulated folk knowledge. For most of the 20th century, doctors dismissed these remedies as pure superstition, things uneducated people did before real medicine showed up. Here's the problem with that story. The science is starting to prove Grandma right. Not on everything, but on enough things that researchers have had to stop laughing and start paying attention. Today, we're covering 7 old wives' tales that modern science has taken seriously enough to actually study, and in most cases, confirmed. The strength of evidence varies, and we'll tell you where it's airtight and where it's still developing. But the pattern is consistent. Folk medicine was paying attention. Remedy 1. Vicks VapoRub on the feet for coughs. Let's start with the one that sounds the most absurd. You've probably seen it on social media. Rub Vicks VapoRub on the bottom of your feet before bed and your cough will stop. Your first reaction is probably, that makes absolutely no sense. Your feet are not your chest. Your lungs are not in your ankles. Why would putting menthol on the soles of your feet do anything for a cough? Nobody is completely sure, but here's what we know. The feet contain a dense concentration of nerve endings, and the soles in particular are loaded with reflex points connected to the respiratory system. Some researchers believe the menthol, camphor, and eucalyptus oil in Vicks activate these nerve pathways, triggering what's called a somatosensory reflex that suppresses the cough signal. Now, full transparency, the evidence here is limited. A 2010 survey-based study in a nursing journal asked parents of sick children whether Vicks on the feet helped. Parents who used it reported better sleep and fewer coughing episodes. That's real data, but it's parent-reported, it's a small sample, and it hasn't been replicated in a rigorous blinded clinical trial. Science hasn't confirmed this one so much as it's taken it seriously enough to study it. What's better established is Vicks applied to the chest. Menthol genuinely activates cold receptor nerve endings in a way that reduces the sensation of congestion, even if it doesn't physically open your airways. The feet version? Plausible mechanism, early evidence, not yet proven, but not debunked either. Remedy 2. Chicken soup for colds. Chicken soup has been a cold remedy in virtually every culture on Earth for at least 2,000 years, and for most of that time, doctors called it comfort food and nothing more. Then, Dr. Stephen Renard at the University of Nebraska Medical Center ran a study that the medical community couldn't easily dismiss. He took his wife's homemade chicken soup recipe, isolated the components, and tested them against neutrophils, the white blood cells responsible for the inflammatory response that causes the worst cold symptoms. It inhibited neutrophil migration. That's not placebo. That's measurable anti-inflammatory activity. The hot liquid addresses congestion directly by increasing nasal mucus velocity and acting as a mild decongestant. The cysteine released from the chicken during cooking is chemically similar to acetylcysteine, a drug used to treat bronchitis, and the salt in the broth has mild antiseptic properties in the upper respiratory tract. So when your grandmother made you chicken soup, she was simultaneously delivering an anti-inflammatory, a decongestant, and a bronchial agent in one bowl. The science caught up about 2,000 years late. Remedy 3. Honey for coughs and wounds. This one has now moved from old wives' tale to clinical protocol. Honey, raw honey specifically, has been validated so extensively that it's now used in hospital-grade wound dressings. The mechanism is fascinating. Honey has a water activity so low that bacterial cells placed in contact with it die by osmosis. They're basically dehydrated by the sugar concentration. It also contains hydrogen peroxide, released slowly by the enzyme glucose oxidase, which kills pathogens on contact. And Manuka honey specifically contains methyl glyoxal, a compound so antibacterially potent that it's effective against MRSA, methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus, one of the most dangerous antibiotic-resistant bacteria in existence. On the cough side, the WHO actually recommends honey as a first-line treatment for coughs in children over 1 year. A 2012 study in pediatrics found honey outperformed dextromorphine, the active ingredient in most over-the-counter cough syrups, for relieving nighttime coughs and improving sleep. Your great-grandmother gave you a spoonful of honey when you were sick. She was beating the pharmaceutical industry. Remedy 4. Onions for drawing out infection. Here's where it gets weirder. The folk remedy claims that placing a raw onion near a sick person or placing a cut onion on a wound draws out toxins or illness. People in the 1800s placed bowls of cut onions around the house to absorb sickness. The toxin absorption version is not real. Onions don't absorb disease from the air like a biological magnet. But the antimicrobial properties of onion are absolutely real. Raw onions contain quercetin, a powerful flavonoid with documented anti-inflammatory, antiviral, and antibacterial activity. They release allicin-related compounds, the same class of chemicals that makes garlic famously antimicrobial, when cut. A 2010 study in phytotherapy research confirmed onion extract effectively inhibited the growth of Streptococcus and Staphylococcus aureus. But here's an important distinction. That's in vitro, meaning in a lab dish. That's not the same as rubbing an onion on a wound and getting the same result on living tissue. The research confirms the chemistry is real. Whether it translates cleanly to a home remedy is a different question.
So no, the onion on your nightstand isn't catching your flu, and we're not saying go treat a wound with a vegetable instead of antiseptic. But your grandmother's instinct that onions were doing something medically useful wasn't wrong. The compounds are real. She just had the delivery method slightly off. Remedy 5. Ginger for nausea. This one barely needs defending anymore. The clinical evidence for ginger as an anti-nausea agent is so robust, it's now recommended by mainstream OBGYNs for morning sickness. Gingerols and shogaols, the active compounds in ginger root, interact directly with the digestive system and the central nervous system. They appear to accelerate gastric emptying, which prevents the backlog of stomach contents that triggers nausea. And they act on serotonin receptors in the gut that are key to the vomiting reflex. Multiple randomized controlled trials have confirmed ginger's effectiveness for chemotherapy-induced nausea, post-operative nausea, motion sickness, and pregnancy nausea. A 2014 review in the British Journal of Anesthesia concluded ginger was statistically more effective than placebo across 5 separate trials. People have been using it for 3,000 years. Scientists needed 5 more. Remedy 6. Cold water on burns. This one sounds obvious. Burn yourself, run it under cold water. But folk medicine actually said something more specific. Cool running water, not ice, and keep it running for at least 10 minutes. Turns out this is precisely correct, and the details matter. Research confirmed that cool running water applied within 20 minutes of a burn and held for a minimum of 10 to 20 minutes reduces burn depth, reduces tissue damage, reduces the need for skin grafting, and accelerates healing. Ice, despite the instinct to grab it, actually causes vasoconstriction and can extend the injury by damaging the tissue further. The mechanism: heat continues to damage tissue even after the heat source is removed. Cool running water continuously draws that stored thermal energy out of the wound. It's not just pain relief, it's actively limiting the injury in real time. Your grandmother told you exactly the right thing to do. Emergency medicine just spent decades confirming it. Remedy 7. Garlic as an antibiotic. Garlic has been used medicinally for at least 5,000 years. Hippocrates prescribed it. Medieval plague doctors used it. Every grandmother in every culture seems to have believed in it. Modern science has been studying it extensively since the mid-20th century, and the lab data is genuinely impressive. Allicin, the sulfur compound released when garlic is crushed or chopped, has demonstrated broad-spectrum antimicrobial activity in laboratory studies against bacteria, fungi, viruses, and even some parasites. Here's where we have to be straight with you, though. Most of that evidence is in vitro, meaning it works in a lab dish. A 2001 study in Microbes and Infection found allicin active against H. pylori, the bacterium behind most stomach ulcers. But follow-up human trials on whether eating garlic actually clears H. pylori infections in real people have been mixed. The jump from kills bacteria in a lab to works as an antibiotic in the human body is a significant one, and garlic hasn't fully cleared that bar yet. What is well supported is garlic has genuine anti-inflammatory and cardiovascular benefits in human trials, and the antimicrobial chemistry is unambiguously real. Calling it a confirmed antibiotic is a stretch. Calling it a medically active food that folk medicine correctly identified as powerful, that's fair. The catch on the chemistry side is accurate though. Allicin degrades quickly when exposed to heat, so cooked garlic loses much of its potency. Raw garlic, which is exactly how folk medicine has always prescribed it, is where the active compounds are strongest. 5,000 years of instinct. The science says they were onto something, even if the full picture is still developing. Here's what these 7 remedies have in common. They were all dismissed for most of modern medical history, not because they were tested and failed, but because they weren't tested at all. The assumption was that if it came from folk culture, it was probably superstition. That assumption was wrong. What we're learning is that centuries of empirical observation, millions of people noticing that something works, passing it down generation to generation, can actually converge on genuinely effective treatments. Not always. Plenty of folk remedies are nonsense, but some of them were doing chemistry that we didn't understand yet. So the next time someone tells you something sounds like an old wives' tale, ask yourself, which old wife? Because some of them were running field trials long before clinical research caught up. If this one made you rethink something your grandmother told you, drop it in the comments. And if you want to see more science that challenges what we thought we knew, subscribe. We'll keep digging.